Welcome back to the arena. Today, I am going to present to you the most powerful Gen 2 Pokemon battle that you will ever see. What makes it such a powerful battle? I'll tell you. It's the two most powerful players in the most powerful metagame. Today, we are going over Issa vs Conflict, a Gen 2 Ubers battle that was played on October 18th, 2024. The battle was played as part of the GSC Premier League, a team tournament featuring exclusively GSC tiers. In the realm of GSC Ubers, Conflict and Issa are generally ranked as number 1 and number 2. Both are highly knowledgeable and consistent players who have been competing in tournaments for years. Conflict is a player with a superb ability to read the game state and stay focused. He is also very creative, having won tournament games with Pokemon like Rollout Rhydon and Corsola. Issa is also superb at reading the game state and his opponents, and is less likely to possibly go too far with the oddball picks. Both players consistently dominate every tournament they enter. This is far from the first clash of the Titans. Issa and Conflict have engaged in battle in several tournaments. Both players very much respect the other as a player. With all that in mind, who is going to come out on top? Who will win in this edition of the most powerful Gen 2 matchup? Strap yourselves in, folks. It's time to witness a clash of the Titans. It's time for Issa versus Conflict. The stage has been set. On turn number 1, Issa sends out a Mew, while Conflict sends out a Snorlax. In a metagame without team preview, the first turn can be a goldmine of information. Seeing just one Pokemon can signal a specific team style that the opponent is using. For Conflict, a lead Mew is a strong indication that Issa is using an aggressive offensive team. For Issa, a lead Snorlax is more ambiguous. Snorlax can be used as a lead on various team styles, and its moveset can vary. Right off the bat, Conflict is put in a tricky spot. There is a strong possibility Issa is using Sword Stance Mew. Mew can boost its attack with Sword Stance and then use Explosion, which will ravage any Pokemon that isn't Gengar or Misdreavus, both of whom aren't as common in the Ubers metagame. Issa could be using a supportive Mew without Sword Stance, but even that often carries Explosion. Conflict switches out to Zapdos, as Mew does indeed use Sword Stance. The presence of a Sword Stance Mew basically confirms to Conflict that Issa is using an aggressive offensive team. On turn 2, Mew uses Thunder Wave, likely to catch a switch out, as Zapdos uses Thunder. This Mew set often uses Miracle Berry to absorb status, which includes Thunder Paralysis. On turn 3, Issa decides to use Explosion. Conflict looks through his team, and he decides that Zapdos should be the one to take it. Mew promptly obliterates Zapdos and itself with Explosion, bringing the game to 5v5. The removal of Zapdos has several implications. There are several Pokemon who could be on Issa's team that would benefit. Ones with a poor Zapdos matchup, such as Heracross or Vaporeon. On turn 4, both players reveal a new Pokemon. Issa sends out Mewtwo, and Conflict sends out Cloyster. Conflict sent out Cloyster to get easy spikes versus a Snorlax or even an opposing Cloyster, but Issa catches that with Mewtwo, a Pokemon Cloyster must run from. Conflict responds by sending in his Snorlax, who Mewtwo whiffs a Thunder into. This Mewtwo is likely a self-destruct variant. Self-destruct Mewtwo is highly customizable. Not only can it run various attacking moves, but also moves such as Recover or Barrier. These moves can make opponents not think Mewtwo is running a self-destruct set, and an unexpected self-destruct is the most terrifying. In a match like this where both players are very even skill-wise, the element of surprise is key. If you can surprise your opponent by, say, subverting common team structures or movesets, it can change the course of the battle. Using lesser seen or explored Pokemon can also act as a form of surprise. I'll get back to this later. Back to the battle, Issa switches his Mewtwo out for Cloyster. Against Snorlax, Cloyster can't set up spikes, and it can threaten Snorlax with Toxic and Explosion. As Cloyster is switched in, Snorlax uses Curse. Issa responds with a Toxic as Snorlax sets up another Curse. On the next turn, Cloyster sets up spikes as Snorlax uses a third Curse. Snorlax now poses a threat, though toxic damage will slow it down. Issa stays in and uses Surf, while Snorlax unleashes a nasty body slam, paralysing Cloyster. Issa is now forced to switch out. He will now reveal his normal resistant Pokemon. Turns out, it's Steelix, who thankfully avoids a body slam paralysis. By now, toxic damage has caught up to Snorlax. Snorlax uses Rest as Steelix responds with a Roar, dragging in Conflict's Mewtwo. The possibility of a fire move makes Issa bring in his own Mewtwo, who dodges an aggressive Thunder. On turn 12, both Mewtwo use Thunder and miss. On turn 13, Conflict's one hits, while Issa's misses. The best case for both players is a Thunder Paralysis, a catastrophic status condition for such a speed-reliant Pokemon. On turn 14, Issa lands a Thunder, and Conflict does the same. Only his one paralyzes. Not great for Issa. Conflict then reveals Barrier, while Issa gets fully paralyzed. It's a good thing Conflict didn't use Thunder there. He does go for Thunder on turn 16 though, missing it while Issa gets to recover. Conflict breaks the Mewtwo Ditto with a switch to Snorlax. Right now, things are rather tame. It's still up in the air in terms of who will win. I would give Conflict a slight edge right now, given the paralysis on Issa's Mewtwo and Cloyster. On turn 19, Issa sends out Steelix against Snorlax. Snorlax burns its rest turns while Steelix uses Roar, revealing a Tyranitar on Conflict's end. Both players decide to switch out. Conflict sends out Cloyster while Issa reveals Snorlax. Both players have now revealed all but one of their Pokemon. The Pokemon both players have revealed so far leaves that last team slot a bit ambiguous. It is not entirely clear who both players' last Pokemon is. The decisive factor in this game is likely going to be who that last Pokemon is. For Issa, his last Pokemon is possibly a support-heavy sweeper, such as Marowak, Heracross, or Vaporeon. It could also be a more standard offensive Pokemon, such as Zapdos or Tyranitar. As for Conflict, the presence of Body Slam on his Snorlax indicates that the last Pokemon could be one of the support-heavy sweepers I mentioned. He also could have had Thunder Wave on his Zapdos. As I mentioned earlier though, both players could be subverting expectations. They could be using more unexpected and less obvious Pokemon in these team slots. The last Pokemon also isn't the only piece of ambiguous information that could decide the game. There are still movesets that need to be revealed, specifically on Issa Snorlax and Conflict's Tyranitar. What set is Snorlax using? Is he using Rest plus Lovely Kiss? Is he using Earthquake? Possibly even a variant without Rest? What set is Tyranitar using? Is it the usual Curse plus Roar set? Or could it be an all-out attacking set? Even a Screech set is possible. For both players, their unrevealed information is their greatest strength. Issa and Conflict must pay attention to how the other plays, the way they play, the way they switch around their Pokemon. It could give them hints as to who is lurking in the back. Back to the battle, on turn 21, we see a familiar matchup. Cloyster sets up spikes as Snorlax uses Curse. On the next turn, Cloyster uses Toxic, while Snorlax uses a second Curse. Snorlax is getting powerful. Conflict switches out to Tyranitar, as Snorlax curses up once more. Luckily for Conflict, Earthquake is less common on Uber Snorlax. It's more often seen with Lovely Kiss, meaning it only has normal type attacks. Conflict uses Curse with Tyranitar, as Snorlax unleashes a powerful +3 Earthquake, putting Conflict in a precarious position. Snorlax is poisoned and Mewtwo does have Barrier, but this Snorlax is likely to KO something. Tyranitar tries to flinch Snorlax with Rock Slide, but Snorlax doesn't budge and finishes Tyranitar off. Conflict brings in his Mewtwo, who needs to use Barrier right away. With Barrier and Recover, Mewtwo can withstand Snorlax, and the poison damage will force it to rest. If it's not using Rest, it's probably using Lovely Kiss, meaning it has little time left. Conflict uses Barrier, as Snorlax actually uses Body Slam, not Double Edge. This is valuable information for Conflict. The idea that one of those support heavy sweepers is in the back is even more likely now. That makes it easier for Mewtwo to stomach hits, but Body Slam paralysis would suck. Body Slam means that Lovely Kiss is less likely. Mewtwo uses Recover, and Issa reveals the final move on his Snorlax. Turns out, it's not Lovely Kiss, nor Rest. Snorlax obliterates Mewtwo with Self-Destruct, sacrificing itself in the process. That is a huge turn. The game is now 4v3, with Issa in the lead. The removal of Mewtwo is good news for Issa. Issa is now favoured Pokemon wise, but it's far from decided yet. The last Pokemon still hasn't been revealed. Conflict's Cloyster can also be an issue if Mewtwo gets unlucky. On turn 28, Issa sends out Mewtwo and Conflict sends out Snorlax. Issa responds with a Steelix, who it appears to counter Snorlax. Conflict twice fails to land a Body Slam paralysis, while Steelix uses Earthquake. Conflict switches out to Cloyster, taking 35% from Earthquake. Conflict then makes an aggressive double switch back to Snorlax, as Issa sends in Mewtwo. He can now fish for a Body Slam paralysis. Snorlax, yet again, fails twice to land a Body Slam paralysis. Issa can now use Roar, which could reveal that final Pokemon. Issa uses Roar and drags in Cloyster. Conflict keeps his last Pokemon hidden. Cloyster hits Mewtwo for 28% on the switch. It is now at 54%. Conflict switches back out to Snorlax, as Mewtwo suffers an appalling full paralysis. Now, it's gonna be tricky to switch into Cloyster. Mewtwo is switched out for Steelix, who is getting worn down by these Body Slams. It dodges a paralysis on turn 37, but is finally paralysed on turn 38. Conflict really wants to paralyse this Steelix. It makes you wonder who would want Steelix paralysed so badly. Is it something equal in speed? After being paralysed, Steelix uses Roar, and again fails to reveal the last. Issa is now in a tricky spot. Mewtwo is paralysed and at 60%, and that seems to be his best Cloyster answer. Issa switches Mewtwo in, surviving Surf with just 28%. Conflict only has a 12.8% chance to KO a Mewtwo at 28% with Surf. But if Mewtwo gets fully paralysed, it won't really matter. This seems to be Issa's best way around Cloyster, so he just has to go for it and hope. turn 40 is going to be pivotal. Cloyster uses Surf, and Mewtwo survives on 1%, breaking through paralysis and blowing Cloyster to smithereens. Issa has survived Cloyster, but it's not over yet. Conflict and Issa still haven't revealed that last mystery Pokemon. Marowak seems to be who Conflict is anticipating, given how he has played so far. For Conflict, something very slow seems to be who he has last. He really wanted to paralyze that Steelix. That may have been because it would benefit his Snorlax, or it could be because he has his own Steelix. Steelix is Conflict's final Pokemon, a choice that surprised some spectators. You would have thought that Steelix would have appeared by now, but Conflict hit it for just the right moment. With the state this game is in, it could actually become a tie. If the final two Pokemon on the field are both KO'd by Explosion, the game is tied and a rematch is immediately played after. A tie might not be needed though. This is not a good spot for Issa. Both his Steelix and Cloyster are paralyzed and at around 50%. Conflict Steelix uses Curse as Issa's Steelix gets fully paralyzed. This is not a good spot. +1 Earthquake has a 17% chance to KO a Steelix at 57%. Issa's Steelix doesn't threaten Conflict's one much back. Its best bet is probably to just use Roar, and it can always get fully paralyzed. On turn 42, Conflict lands a critical hit Earthquake, cannibalizing Issa's Steelix. Issa sends in his Cloyster, still not revealing who that last Pokemon is. +1 Earthquake deals 31 to 36% to Cloyster, who has to break through paralysis to land a Surf that won't one-shot Steelix, though the damage could be crucial for Issa's last. Conflict decides to not risk it, switching to his Snorlax. Unless Issa has a last with a good Snorlax matchup, he kinda just has to use Explosion. Snorlax has Curse, but at 57%, Explosion will still take it out. Issa needs to break through full paralysis. Conflict uses Curse, and Cloyster breaks through, KOing Snorlax with Explosion. It is now a 1v1. It is Conflict Steelix against a mystery last Pokemon. A final Pokemon that has remained hidden until the very end. Issa has no option but to finally reveal who was in the back, who was there all this time. There is a strong possibility that this game is going to be tied. If the last is Marowak, Issa needs a critical hit Earthquake to avoid a tie. There's no going back now. The mystery of Issa's last Pokemon is about to be revealed. As it turns out, Issa's last Pokemon was, all this time, Vaporeon. In the battle chat, Conflict confirms that he thought it was Marowak last. Vaporeon is the final member of Issa's team, and that's probably the best thing he could have asked for in this situation. Don't get too hopeful though, this isn't as great as it may seem. Vaporeon Surf only has a 10.3% chance to one-hit KO a Steelix at 94%. Meanwhile, Steelix's Explosion is guaranteed to one-shot Vaporeon at 94%. There is the possibility of a Surf crit, but even with that, the odds of Surf KOing Steelix are low. If Surf fails to KO Steelix, the game is tied, and both players will fight again in a game 2. Turn 45 is what it all comes down to. Both players make their move, knowing the possibility that they will have to rematch is high. Turns out, no rematch is necessary. Vaporeon drowns Steelix with Surf. With that, Issa has won the game. He has defeated Conflict. It was far from an easy victory. Conflict gave Issa no freebies and put up a hell of a fight. It may be disappointing that we didn't get a second game, but this battle was great. This battle was far from one-sided. Really, it came down to multiple damage rolls in the endgame. From the mind games both players played, to the consistently sound plays, it shows why Issa and Conflict are so well respected in GSC Ubers. It also shows how important unrevealed information can be, and how fast-paced GSC games can be if you choose to be aggressive. Overall, a really enjoyable battle.